All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I am really, really excited. I love the name Small Con. With that, let's dive in. I will share my screen. I have few slides. Um, and my goal is to make this very, very useful for all of you. I will share some of the lesson learned the hard way. I think in the last 1 year of building these LLM-based app and more these agentic workflow recently. And as you know, I'm guessing you all know what Salesforce is. So we build CRM app, and we have pretty much any big customer you can think of. They use Salesforce. And what I thought will be helpful is actually walk you through that. What are some of the speed breakers and then headwinds and then tailwinds that we encountered as we went through this journey as a solution provider, as a platform provider. Okay, you guys, is my screen showing up okay? I
Yes.
uh, okay, awesome. So two more things about me. I'm passionate about only two things. One is I love building AI products, so that's why I'm here. And the second thing is I also love to stay very healthy and very fit. So those are the only two limited desires I have. And my strong thesis is if I stay a very healthy, long life, 100 plus year, and if I use a lot of AI to drive automation in my work, in my customers' work, I will be able to have an outsized impact. And so I asked this question to ChatGPT. I don't know if some of you have tried. It's like, hey, based on what you know about me, can you draw a picture of kind of what's my life look like? And you know what? It was not too bad. Maybe some of the prompts I have used in the past, so it was able to pick up, of course, those AI related stuff. Coffee, I love coffee as well. You can see some of the dumbbells, and then it was a fun fun prompt. So you should try it out and then see what image you get. Okay. So with that, what I'll do is
Hey, Manjeet, one thing, notice that we're seeing your slide deck, but not the actually displayed slide in slideshow mode.
all right. So let's see why the slideshow is not working. So I'll share my full screen and so let's confirm one more time. Do you see the Agent Force slide?
Yes. Now we see full slide. Now you're good to go. So we didn't see your drawing. You might want to show or the GPT.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is the basically if you prompt ChatGPT, hey, the based on what you know, and I think basically, if you the what you put in the profile and all the historical chats you have had, if you're not clearing them up. So this was a fun picture, and I thought it's a good like, hey, this is about me. Okay. So what I'll do is in next 20 minutes or so, I'll just spend very little time on what Salesforce is because my goal is to not kind of pitch our products and whatnot, but share these lessons learned where the fine tuning fits into our journey and what was our kind of strategy so far. But let's start with AgentForce. So very quickly, AgentForce is our new platform that allows you to build these agents quickly and then test them, deploy them. So think of this as a tool chain. We built it onto this platform and branding it as AgentForce. The good thing about this is it's a low code, no code platform, which means there's kind of, the studio and builder interface where you can build these agents, connect to your workflow, whichever channels you want to expose into. And then trust is our number one value. And that's where we are building our trust layer. We also call it kind of the guardrails. So all of this comes together. That is the agent for offering. We announced this in Dreamforce 2.5 months ago, and I think I could not be more excited because we are seeing a great traction across our customer base, specifically kind of the service use cases, sales use cases, and marketing use cases. So what we are seeing is as customers are building more and more agents, I think it is going to change how we all work, depending on whatever roles you have in the company, whether, if you are a founder slash builder, doesn't matter, versus you work in IT or customer service or finance or sales. I think if you look into this journey that we have been through, we had these rule-based chatbots. Then last year we had these co-pilots. And then what we are basically talking about now is these AI agents. So I think the two biggest change this AI agent bring is their ability to take action informed by a very strong reasoning capability. And the other thing to kind of keep in mind is when you look at these solutions, don't just think about the conversational interface, because these agents are going to be kind of get embedded into any workflow you can think of. So in many of our use cases, this agent will be headless. Of course, you will have the conversational interface that we are all seeing, like chat GPTs of the world, to our, let's say, Salesforce service agent, because they can run the action autonomously on your behalf, or get your feedback from you and then go ahead and take the action. So that's why we are seeing customers have building a lot of these agents. So very quickly, what's the definition of an agent? Because there's, the many companies have started to provide it. Loosely, I think an agent should have these 5 attributes. What's the job of the agent? So think of, hey, if I'm building agent for me or for kind of my department, so think of the jobs to be done. The agent should have access to the data, because you don't want these agents to hallucinate. You want it to be grounded into your enterprise knowledge. And then most importantly, you want to enable actionability through these agents so that they can go and do those tasks. Again, touching base on number 4 is the guardrail. And then the most important one is the channel. Where do you want to expose this agent? For example, in case of the service cloud use case or customer service use case, you may want to expose this into your existing, let's say, your website or your portal or your mobile app. But the behind the scene, this agent is sitting onto kind of your main UI layer. All right, I think enough about AgentForce. Let me now make it kind of a little more real. Life is not that simple. If you are working in LLM space, there are a ton of challenges. So this slide, what I'm showing in here is there's a challenge around hallucination. Some people call it, hey, hallucination is not a bug, it's a feature. I somewhat agree, but I also believe that the agent should be responding based on the historical knowledge as well as the current actual knowledge, not just making things up. Cost is, I'll talk about more when we go into kind of the fine tuning part. Of course, performance. And then I would be spending some time on the evaluation, the most important part. How do you test these systems and feel comfortable that, hey, I have done my POC and now I can turn this thing into the production. So the question is, you might see, and I observed this firsthand, pretty much not just in our customer base, but all across the board. It has become super easy to build the early demos. In fact, many times you don't need a data science in the room, and you can build out the first POC by yourself if you know how to use these tools today. And that is democratizing basically at least the demo part. And you take a use case, and then, depending on what you have, a coding use case or you have summarization or you name it, I don't think you need a kind of a 2 months or 3 months. Sometime you can quickly build out the first demo, go in front of your leadership team, get excitement, and then, but that's all easy. Where the rubber hits the road is really pushing the boundaries to a level where you feel comfortable that, hey, can this thing be turned on into production? So in summary, optimizing from this initial 60% of the accuracy to 80 or 90%, whatever your kind of threshold is based on the use case, or the domain you work in. For example, if you work in legal versus or finance or like in there, you want to make sure your accuracy is very, very high. But that is where the 80-90% of the effort goes in. Or in fact, I would argue building the flashy demo is only 10% of the work, and rest 90% of the hard work is actually building the trust that this solution works. But why is that? Let's double click on that, because when you talk to any of these Gen AI solution, whether it's your simple RAG apps or even these agents which can loop in kind of within themselves in the workflow, there are so many things going on. So you might hear this term, hey, here's a black box. What happens at the each stage? What happened? How many LLM calls it's making? What's happening with the latency at each step? Which knowledge it is going and checking? What is the kind of the RAG chunks are being used? Can we cite them? Did it follow my guardrail or not? I can keep going. I mean, giving more and more example, but then I from the end user standpoint, you are asking a question and you're looking at a response. And then if your response is not bad, how do you backtrack and understand what happened? So in summary, how do you demystify the box? So I'll spend next 5 minutes into giving a very kind of few practical advice that and the solutions also that we that should be built, or I can share a demo of what we have built. Okay. So I think to summarize what I've shared so far is I think there's a lot of excitement around this new piece of technology. But the truth is these are non-deterministic system. There is a lot of fear of unknown. Hey, I asked this prompt, 3 times back to back. Why it is giving me three different answer. Why? And we are not used to of that. Our customers are not used to of that. And some of the obvious one, I'll not read all the bullet points in here, but security, privacy. Number three is a big one. Negative past experiences. This is I'm seeing happening very commonly. You tried something 3 months ago, and then you claimed, "Hey, this did not work for me." But things are changing fast. For example, these reasoning models are getting better and better. So something that did not work for you, for example, hey, I tried the Copilot thing, whatever Copilot it was, and then no, it didn't work for me. But believe me, things are getting better and faster. So, but to go back to the customer and convince them, hey, can you do a POC again? I think that's where this lot of the friction, and then enterprises are not ready because of these negative past experiences. Cost and ROI, it deserves its own topic. But one thing you will see is every vendor is trying to come up with their pricing and packaging, how we should, first of all, price these systems, and then how do we show the ROI. So with that, I think the big question that that I have for us here is, hey, if there's so many challenges, and then although some of them we can address head on, but how do we go from this fast, easy POC to a kind of in a production environment? And when I say prod, which means whether it's an employee-facing solution or a customer-facing, doesn't matter. What I meant in here is, are you comfortable in turning it on and making it usable by everybody? Okay. So that's where I think what it comes down to is that specifically in the agent world, this agent development lifecycle, and this is where fine tuning will also fit in. And it's a journey, right? Because, and it's, think of this as not something new. If you are building software or any solution, your DevOps lifecycle looks like this. You ideate, you build, you test, you deploy, and then you monitor them in the production. But the challenge is we require an upgraded tool chain. We don't have good kind of the tool set out there that can do all of this for these non-deterministic or these agentic workflow. So we ran into this kind of situation. We build it, but then how do we provide confidence to our customers? So that's where I'll share these four things. One is I'll quickly talk about testing and eval. and more importantly, kind of AI assisted evals, fast feedback, monitoring when these things are turned on in production. And then the most important is optimization, because it's a journey. And typically, when you look at the journey, and I think in the previous session, I'm skipping one slide ahead. I'll come back. So the typical journey that I've seen is you start with maybe a standard LLM, whether it's a proprietary or an open source, doesn't matter. You talked about prompt engineering, and I think somebody was commenting, "Hey, prompt engineering is so 2023." I don't agree with that, because even these agentic systems, there's a lot of prompting behind the scene. So prompting is not going away. And then, of course, the prompt plus RAG. And that's what I've seen across our customers. They don't jump onto fine tuning from the get go, but you reach to a point where, hey, I've tried everything. I've exploited everything I can do, few short prompting, and I'm happy with my RAG pipeline. It's grounding okay, but still my quality is not at par. How can I have these agents to respond into my brand voice, as an example? Or how can I have these agents to consume less token, which goes back to the cost, because there's not just one call involved, there's multiple call involved. So the question is, what is next? What is my option? How can I improve my accuracy and precision from 70% to 90%, at the same time bringing the cost down, and also improving the latency, and so on and so forth. So let me go back to, I'll talk about the fine-tuning approach in a second, but I would say you should always start your journey with evals. And in fact, one of the things that I have done in my product organization is that, hey, every requirements and PRD, PM should write a clear eval. And what eval means is, think of as an acceptance criteria, that, hey, we are building this agent or this solution, or uh, that is 80% accuracy good enough for us to launch or turn this on into production. And once that eval is defined, then you want to test the performance and the quality through this 3-stage testing. And you want to test, of course, let's say in this case, agent, but also some of the other components in the stack. You want to test some of those prompts, you want to test retrievers, you want to test models. One roadblock many customer hit is data sets. What are those some good test examples that I can use? Coming up with 5-10 examples is easy. Building hundreds of examples is hard, but the good news is synthetic data generation comes handy. So you should look into um, uh, augmenting or building more data set using, again, kind of prompting LLMs like synthetic data generations. And then third is this hybrid approach of you use AI to evaluate your responses. Like in our case, hey, this is the question user is asking to agents. So you take those 100, let's say, different type of questions, and then you evaluate the response across different metrics. And of course, you want to have the human in the loop as well. So to randomly spot check few answers too, and then also provide thumbs and thumbs down to initiate the food kind of reinforcement learning loop. One thing I want to drive home is teams that are doing very fast iterations. I would say and I look at it across our customer base. When I say fast iteration means they make a change. For example, they add a new topic into the agents, and then if they can test within that thing into 30 minutes, those are the teams that are moving fast. And that's why I think this ability to tune things, make changes, and test is super, super important. And you should be doing it anytime you fix a bug, or before deployment, after deployment. So it's a continuous cycle. I want to show you a quick kind of two screen in here. Testing agents this is the step. Let's say our agent builder, just to show how do you build agents, a set of instructions. But again, you can test a singleton scenario in here, but singleton is not enough to go into production. So that's where you will do batch testing. So this button that you see, And what happens is when you click on the batch test, you can say, hey, I want to create whatever, like 100 more test cases or 200 more test cases. Those test cases are generated automatically. So if I go forward in this screen, what you will see is you generate those different scenarios, you test them, and you need this capability if specifically, let's say if you're fine tuning a model, because what there's like, hey, I fine tune a model in kind of first pass, and then I'm benchmarking what's my quality performance. And then you fine tune with more examples or more data, or just kind of comparing a fine tuned model versus any kind of base model. So you do need this batch testing because single prompt testing is not enough. A lot of customer or users who turn it on without batch testing, they hit the wall and then were not able to kind of the scale the usage. Quickly, another important lesson learned is the knowledge quality. Enterprise knowledge is buried across many different systems, your PDF files and images and documents and whatnot. And it's easy to build the kind of RAG pipeline, but the optimizing to make sure when these LLM, based solutions or your agent based solutions, when they are going and trying to do the retrievals and generation, there's so many things can go wrong. So in this picture, what I'm showing is there is six failures that happen very often in your RAG pipeline, and you should be monitoring those. Like what happened is like is did the when the query came, did the retriever is doing the right job or not? And once the chunk is retrieved, then you want to send it to LLM again. So whether that thing is happening or not. So you need to define those metrics at each stage and then see how things are improving. Okay, so this is again, it's an iterative process, but super, super important if you are building a solution for enterprise, specifically B2B. All right, so this slide I showed earlier, but let's basically look into one or two use case and where we are seeing a lot of benefits from these LLM fine tuning based the use cases. So one of the use case is that a customer wanted to, let's say out of the box solution, nothing is kind of fine tuned. They try to tune the prompts through a prompt builder, but then it's like, hey, why it's not responding into my brand voice? I am a company XYZ. Let's say, I don't know, if you think about companies like Apple and others, they do care about brand voice a lot. So any responses or a marketing email that goes into customers, you want to make sure it is using the same tone, same kind of, the customer empathy or same some of their lingo. There's no good way to do this just by prompt engineering, because you will end up creating maybe 20 pages of prompt, and that's not scalable. Your token count will go up, your cost will go up, and that's where you stuck into the psychology triad. How do you find the balance between speed, accuracy, and basically your quality? And that is where uh, we are doing a lot of fine tuning on behalf of our customers, and then we also built a layer to fine tune for some of the CRM use cases. I want to highlight, I think, some of the CRM specific scenario where customers are seeing benefit. So anytime you have a task or domain specific, hey, I'm a finance customers, and then or I am a legal customer, and then this is basically the some of the knowledge that we have that we can feed into the model. Then the other is, as the usage goes up, how you can serve those requests, because CTS becomes super important. CTS is cost to serve. That what are my options? Why can't I take a 10 billion parameter model and then tune it to my specific use cases and then start serving at the same quality at a faster speed and at a lower cost? And that's where we build out some of these use cases. Brand voice alignment, summarization, structured output is another one. Um, So these are the 3 or 4 use cases are kind of top of our list when it comes down to fine tuning. And the most important is our customer always ask like, hey, when you are tuning the model, make sure the data is not kind of used to tune any the base model. This has to be within my trust boundaries, and that's kind of we ensure when customer do it into our platform. So I think just to kind of recap those 4 things that I mentioned, uh, these are the ones that once we have some tooling around it, some guidance around it, and then as kind of lesson learned, and it's a snowball effect, to be honest, right? Once few early customers make progress, and the tool set gets better, and then those playbooks. So number one is your eval, and you want to have this automated eval plus human in the loop. You want your systems to give you fast feedback. I mean, it's as simple as thumbs up and thumbs down, and a lot of implicit feedback that you can drive from your event logs. Monitor some of the most important kind of the pipeline. For example, I showed RAG pipeline, and so you can continue to optimize, and then look into your metrics like your cost to serve, and then what's happening with the responses, the user feedback as it together, like in a, and then you see what are my options, and then that's where you will find opportunities to have a, I would say, data driven meaningful conversation with your team to choose like, hey, why we are using the biggest model when our use case is very targeted, and we can align it into our enterprise lingo. So what I'll do is, I think I'm looking at the clock. We're coming at time. There's 2 takeaways for you guys as a summary. So my summary is agents without a good eval, monitoring, and fast feedback loop is useless. And customers who are doing it or vendors who are doing it, they will be leapfrogged and will have better quality. And the second is, if you are looking to find a balance between speed, precision, and latency, then going with these small language models, fine tune them, is the way to go. So I know it was a lot and I moved fast, so I'll stop here. Let's see if we have questions.